Hey guys, welcome to Programming Knowledge. Here we go. So what is a PyQt? PyQt is a graphical user interface toolkit consisting of Qt library and Python interface. So which means we'll be using PyQt to create a graphical user interface application in which we'll be having icons, menus, buttons, text boxes, etc. So by using PyQt, it's a combination of Python programming language and Qt library. So we'll see one by one. It's a graphical user interface toolkit, and it will be used like for Python interface for Qt library, which means we'll be using like Python programming language for along with Qt library to create this application. Then what is Qt library? We'll understand that first. Qt library is a powerful and popular cross-platform library, which means it will be working on cross-platform and it's very powerful. At the end of it, we'll use this PyQt to create graphical applications. So let's see what is available in PyQt library. First, we'll see PyQt application program interface, which is API, is a set of modules which will be containing a large number of classes and methods. So what are the things available there? First, we have Qt core, which is a non-graphical user interface functionality which will be used for creating files. Will be working on files and directories. So Qt core is used for files and directories, and it's a non-graphical user interface functionality. Then we have Qt GUI, which will be used for graphical controls of the application that we are going to create. So we have seen Qt core, Qt GUI. Now the other one is Qt XML. As you know, like XML is an extensible markup language which is used in an application. So by using Qt XML, we'll be working with XML file. Next, we have Qt SVG. Suppose if you want to use scalar vector graphics file or scalar vector graphics in your application, you'll be using the Qt SVG to work on it. So like we have seen Qt core, Qt GUI, next we have seen Qt XML, then we had Qt SVG, lastly we have Qt SQL. As you might be knowing that SQL is a structured query language used for the backend purpose, for the databases. So by using Qt SQL, it will provide the support for structured query language databases. So right now what we have seen, PyQt API is a set of modules which will be containing a large number of classes and methods for creating a graphical user interface application. So like we have Qt core, Qt GUI, Qt XML, Qt SVG, and Qt SQL. So by using all the steps, we work on the files and directories. Then we have the graphical controls. Like if you are using Qt GUI, then we work on the XML part as well. Then if you want a scalar vector graphics file by using Qt SVG, we do that. And then lastly, if you want the database to like work on, we use Qt SQL. So by using all this, we create the graphical user interface application. So in the coming tutorials, we'll be working on like coding part and the setup of the Qt core and like the PyQt for creating an application.
So let's now go ahead and set up the PyQt by following the three steps. The first step we are going to do is like we'll go to this mentioned website, which is https://pypi.org/project/pyqt of 5. So we are going to type this address in the in Google Chrome, and then after the website opens, like we'll be having a installation tab. In that we'll find the command called pip install of pyqt5. So we are going to use this command in Anaconda command prompt line or Python command prompt line. uh, like we are going to use this command to install the pyqt library, which will enable us to create the programs for creating graphical applications. So let's now go ahead and set up the PyQt by following the steps. As I've already opened the web page, as you can see. So here there are so many tabs available. You can see the project description, then you have author, license, documentation. Documentation, if you want any documentation of the PyQt, you can just download it from by clicking here over here. Then, as I said, under the installations tab, we have pip install of pyqt5. So we are going to copy this and let's install the pyqt library. So it's going to take some time as we are downloading, like we are going to install the pyqt, right? So it's downloading from the website and it's getting installed, so it will take a little bit of time. So we are going to wait for this to get installed. After that, like, we'll start creating the first program. So here we go. We have like installed the PyQt5 library file, and now let's go and look at the sample code for creating a sample application with an example. So where were we?
Now, what we are going to do, we are going to discuss for creating a simple GUI application. That is the steps. So therefore, there are 5 steps involved in creating a simple GUI application. So I'm going to create a simple GUI application in which we are going to display a window along with a header called PyQt5 simple window, in which you'll be having minimize, maximize, and close option button with close option tab. Now let's go ahead and check out, like we'll start discuss about the code that we are going to use for creating that application. So these are the 5 steps we are going to use for creating that simple app. First, we'll import PyQt module, in which we'll be having certain things that needs to be imported for creating the application. Followed by, we'll be defining a method. In this method, we'll define the size, like top, down, right, left. All the steps will be defined over this method. And the third step, what we are going to do is we are going to define a separate method for the title, which is going to be displayed on top of the screen. Next, we are going to display the application by using the show method, which is a word called show. We use that to display the application. Lastly, we are going to create the main method to run the application. So these are the 5 steps required to create that simple G application. Now let's go ahead and discuss one by one what are the steps that are going to be defined inside this. First, we'll discuss about the import PyQt module. Let's go ahead and check out that. So here we go. This is the first step we are going to do. Like we are going to import PyQt module. Inside this, we are going to define 3 things. First, we'll import the sys, which is the system. Followed by, we are going to import Q application and Q widget from pyqt5.qt widgets that will be used. And lastly, we are going to import Q icon, which is available in like from pyqt5.qtgui, which comes under graphical user interface. So these are the 3 things we are going to define under import pyqt module. Let's go ahead and see what is the second step. Second step, as I have told you earlier, is defining a method. So here in this method, what we are going to do, we are going to set the title pyqt5 simple window, and along with that, we are going to define the left, top, width, height, and lastly initializing the UI, which is init UI, by using the self keyword. So here we go, like as we follow the common rule, which is first we create the class. So I have defined the class as and class name as app, and inside the parentheses I have called on the Q widget, which I have imported from pyqt5.qt widgets. Then I have defined the method has been defined as initialized by using defs underscore initialize, which is init, and inside that self keyword. No, and super method has been used, followed by title, left, top, width, height, and lastly initializing UI. So we are going to do write the code for these things in defining a method.
So what is the third thing we are going to do? We are going to define a method for title. Let's go and check out the define a method for title. So inside this, I'm going to use the method as initui, and inside the parentheses I have used the keyword as self. So by using the self keyword, what I'm going to do, self dot set window title as self dot title, which is the title will be taken, which is self dot title as PyQt5 simple window, that will be displayed inside the window title, followed by what I'm going to do, I'm going to use self dot set geometry, and inside the parentheses I'm going to call self dot left, self dot top, self dot width, and self dot height, which is 10, 10, 640, and 480. So these are the things I'm going to define inside the self geometry. And lastly, I'm going to use the last method, which is uh, the fourth method, which I have defined as displaying application using show method. So I have used the show method as self.show to create the application. And lastly, we are going to use the main method to run the application. Let's go ahead and check out the main method. So I have created the main method by defining if underscore underscore name underscore underscore equals to main, and inside that I have used the object called app equals to, I have used the queue application which we have uh, used in import pyqt module, which we have taken from pyqt5.qt widgets. So what will happen, I have used the queue application inside that system that sys.argv, which I have used, which I'm going to pass on. And lastly, I have created an variable called ex. Inside that I'm going to use the app method, which is app method. And lastly, I'm going to exit the program by using app.execute underscore followed by the package. So here we go. Now, what will happen after running this program? A simple pyqt5 the window will be opened along with the icons of close, minimize, and maximize with the header, which is pyqt5 simple window, which we have defined. So this is the overall code for getting the output as expected output as a pyqt5 simple window. As you can see, first we imported, then we created the class, then we defined the method. Inside that we have defined the title, left, top, width, height, and lastly initializing UI, init UI. Then followed by, for window title, we have defined the method as init UI, and inside that we have used the self keyword and set the window title and taken the self dot title, which we have defined pyqt5 simple window inside the parentheses of set window title. Then we use the geometry and called on the self dot left and self dot top, self dot width, and self dot height, which is 10, 10, 640, and 480. And lastly, we have used the show method to run the display the application, and inside the main method we are going to run the application by using the queue application and inside the parentheses as following by sys dot argument, which is argv, and created a some a variable called ex. Inside that we stored the app, and lastly exiting the system. So here we go. After running this up code, what will happen, this will be displayed. So I'm going to end this tutorial right for now. In the next tutorial, we are going to implement this code and see whether we get an output of pyqt5 simple window along with the icons of maximize, minimize, and close icon. Now let's go ahead and run the code. So before running the code, I would suggest you to install the PyQt in PyCharm if you are using the PyCharm IDE for running the code. So for doing that, you need to go to settings and go to project interpreter, and you'll have PyQt5 and PyQt5 zip and PyQt5 stubs. You need to install all these three packages by just double clicking on that and clicking on the install package. Once you are clicking on install package, the package will get installed. So in order to get these things, you need to work on the terminal, which is by clicking on that and providing the code as pip install pyqt5. By doing so, you will get installed your pyqt5. So let's go ahead and run the code. As we discussed in the last tutorial, there are 5 steps for creating a simple window app. That is, the first step is import PyQt module, where you will be importing the system, followed by you'll be importing Q application, Q widget, and Q icon from pyqt5.qwidgets and Qt GUI. Let's copy these and run the code. Here we go. I'm copying it and I'm going to paste in IDE. So here we go. We have used the required libraries. And the next step, what we are going to do is we are going to define a method where we will define the title, left, top, width, and height, and followed by creating a one more creating a method called initUI. So we are going to copy this and paste the code accordingly. Here we go. So what happens over here? We have opened the class and used the Q widget which we have imported inside the app parentheses and define the method called initialize, which is init underscore underscore init underscore underscore, and inside the parentheses we have used the self keyword and use the super class to make sure to have the accessible of title, left, top, with height in the method of init UI, which we are going to create it now. So this is the first method we have created it, in which we have defined title, left, top, width, and height. Now we are going to define the second method, which will be defining the title and using the self.title, self.left, self.top, self.width, and self.height, which we have defined in the first method of initializing, like definition of init. So let's go ahead and copy this code. Here we go. So we have finally defined the init UI, which is referring to this. So we have defined the init UI, and inside the parentheses we have used the self keyword, and by using self dot set window title, and inside the parentheses we have we are referring to this PyQt5 simple window, which is the header of the window, and followed by using set geometry we are defining self dot left, self dot top, and self dot width, and self dot height, which have been defined in the first method, which is this one, dot left, top, width, and height. And lastly, we are going to use the self.show to make sure to enable the window app. And we are going to create the main method in which we are going to define the app and a variable called x in which we are going to store the app method, app class. And lastly, we are going to use the sys.exit, which is system.exit, and inside the parentheses we are going to call the app, which is this Q application, and system.argv. So this is referring to this this is referring to this app dot execute underscore, and followed by closing the bracket. Let's go ahead and copy this code and paste it over here. So here we go. We'll just make some arrangements. Here we go. We have made the arrangements and defined the if as well. So we have defined the main method, and inside the main method we have created an object called app in which we have used the Q application which we have imported from pyqt5.qwidgets, and inside the parentheses we have forwarding the sys which we have imported dot argument, which is argv. So here we go, and then lastly we have created a variable called x in which we have stored the app, and lastly we are going to execute the app by providing sys.app exit, and inside the parentheses we have called on the app, which is this dot execute underscore. by closing the bracket. Let's now go ahead and run the program and see whether we get the window in which we have the PyQt5 simple window header. We are going to run this uh, program. Let's now go ahead and run the program and look for the output. Here we go. We have got the output. It is a PyQt5 simple window, and along with minimize, maximize, and the close option. So we have created the simple PyQt5 like simple window using PyQt5. So that's it for today. Meanwhile, I'll explain the code what happened. So in the main application, we have called on the app. So what will happen? It will come over here, like it will print out the PyQt5 simple window as a header along with self.left top with an height of the 10, 10, 640 and 480. And inside the init UI, we are using the set window title and set geometry inside that as told earlier, which is self.title top left with height and everything, like we are going to define it inside the parentheses, and we are going to use the show self.show to make sure to enable the window. So here we go, we have got the output, which is a PyQt5 simple window. Here we can maximize, then minimize, and at the end of it, I can close the application also. So by using this code, we are going to add on a button inside the window. Let's start off by creating the, by writing down the code. The first thing we are going to do is we are going to use the Q push button, which is we are going to import the Q push button from pyqt5.qt widgets. Then what we are going to do, next to self.geometry, we'll create a variable called button, variable or object called button, and inside the button we are going to use the Q push button which we have imported. Then, and inside the brackets, parentheses, we are going to provide a name for this button. Let's say I'm going to provide PyQt5 button. Here we go, we have defined the button name. The next step what we are going to do is we are going to also use the self keyword. So we have created the button. Now we are going to use this button, and by using the set tooltip we are going to provide a name, which is, let's say this is an example button. Here we go, we have defined it. The next step what we are going to do is we are going to again use the button by using the dot move. Inside that we are going to provide a value of 100, 70. So we have set a tooltip, and we have also used the move, and followed by, once creating a button is done, an action needs to be performed. Here in this tutorial, I'm going to do an action where whenever a user clicks on the button, a text should be displayed. For example, when I'm clicking on the button of PyQt5, what will happen? It will show it as PyQt5 button clicked. So I'm going to do that. For doing that, first we need to use the button which we have created, followed by a dot operator, and we need to use clicked, and also we need to use dot and use the connect. So inside the parentheses, what we are going to do, we are going to define the method name in which the method should contain the message which is PyQt5 button clicked. So before that, what we are going to do is, like, we are going to use the self.show is already written. So we are going to create that method that needs to be defined over button.click.connect inside the parentheses. For doing that, we need a PyQt slot. So in order to do that, we are going to import the PyQt slot from pyqt5.qtcore, importing in small letters PyQt slot. And I'm going to use this at PyQt slot, and inside this PyQt slot I'm going to define the method which is on underscore click, and inside that I'm using the self one. No, here we go, we have defined it. So inside this on underscore click, what I'm going to do, I'm going to provide my PyQt5 button clicked message. So here we go, we have defined the PyQt5 button clicked message over here. Now the main method has been defined, and all the stuffs have been defined. Let's now make some changes in width and height to make sure that we get a required as expected. Let's say 320 and 200. I'm going to keep that. And also, okay, so we have defined everything. Now let's go ahead and run the program and check for the required output. Now I'm going to run the program. Let's go ahead and run the program. So here we go, we have got the output of PyQt5 button, and as you can see, as per the code, we have got the output which is PyQt5 button inside the simple window. And like one more thing needs to be done, which is the button.click.connect and self.onClick. Like whenever I'm clicking on the button, PyQt5 button click should be displayed. So let's now go ahead and run this one. Here we go, whenever I'm clicking on the button, as you can see, a message is displayed, and that is coming from definition on click of self, on click, definition on click method. So here we go, whenever I'm clicking on the button, it's coming in. Along with that, this is a window which we have defined, and this is the title which we have defined, PyQt5 button over here. Earlier we had defined simple window in the last program, so in this program we have defined PyQt5 button. So this is how the program will work.
I'm going to create a simple app where you'll be having a text box and a button inside the window, and the features of this app will be whenever you can write your message in the text box by just clicking on the button, that text that have been entered in the text box will be shown inside the message box. Let's say I'm going to write my name is James in the text box, and like I'm clicking on the button, so what will happen, a message box will be popping up along with that message which is my name is James. So let's go ahead and create that. So in the last tutorial, we have used this code to create the button and the window. So I'm going to add just the message box and the text box and the process for that, which is the input and output. Let's go ahead and create this one. The first thing which I'm requiring is like I need a queue action, which is I'm going to import queue action. Here we go, I have imported the queue action from PyQt5 widget, followed by I need a queue line edit in order to like edit the text box and write our message, followed by I need a queue message box where the message will be displayed. So here we go, we need to import that. So we have imported the required thing. Now we have already defined the title, left, top, width and height. So this has already been defined, that is window title and followed by self.geometry. So here what we are going to do is we are going to create a text box. So let's go ahead and create the text box, which is by first we will use the self keyword. Along with that we are going to use like the text box, self.text box equals to, what we are going to do, we are going to use the queue line edit which we have imported. Here we go, it's popping up.
So we are going to use the q line edit, and inside the parentheses we are going to use the self keyword. Here we go. We have created a text box like variable inside the by using the self keyword, and inside that we have used q line edit. And the next thing what we are going to do, just like we did in button, we are also going to use the move part, which is by using self dot text box, which is this one where we have created dot move. So inside the move, let's provide some value which is 20 comma 80. Here we go. We did that. So the next thing what we are going to do is we are going to use the resize. Like whenever I'm going to maximize, the text box should also be maximized or minimized based on the requirement of ours. And I'm going to use the self.textbox.resize, and inside the colon I'm going to provide 280 comma 40. Here we go, we did that. Now as we have created the text box with the three things, which is self.textbox and move and resize, now we are going to alter some things in the button part as the in order to perform the operation. So we are going to use first the self keyword, which is self.button, and let's give some other name for this button, which I would provide show text. Like a button will be created along with the show text of it as a caption for the button. So here we go, self.button has been created. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use self dot button dot move, and let's change the value to 20. Not I don't need to have 100 comma 70. I'll get a smaller one, which is 20 comma 80. So here also we'll use the self keyword. Okay, this is not required actually, as we are creating a simple one. So I'm going to remove this self dot button dot self tool set tooltip, which is this is an example button. So I'm going to remove that. Here we go. Just the three things are required. Two things are required. So self dot button and self dot button dot move, which we did it for self dot text box dot move. Now what I'm going to do, this is one statement which is remaining. So the next step what we are going to do is we are going to connect the button to function on click, which is this. So we don't need to write the separate code. We'll use this code, and just by using self dot button dot click dot connect, I have just used the self keyword to connect this button to function on click. So here we go, we did that. So in the on click part, as in the last tutorial, what happened is like a message was shown which whenever I'm clicking on the button, which is PyQt5 button clicked. So here we are going to change this to make sure that whatever we are writing on the text box, that should be prompted on the message box. So in order to do that, first thing what we are going to do is we are going to create a variable called text box value, and inside this we are going to set the text box, which is by using self dot text box dot text. Here we go, we have used the self dot text box, which is this one dot text. Here we go, we have set that text box value. And now what I'm going to do is like I'm going to use the queue message box which we have imported. Here we go, it is showing it as here we go, we have used the queue message box which we have imported, and by using that what we are going to do, we are going to use the dot operator, and we are going to use the question method, which is queue. Here we go, it's popping up. So we have used the queue message box which we have imported. Following with that, we have used the question method, and inside the parentheses we are going to first use the self keyword, followed by, let's say I'm going to provide the caption as message, and I'm going to provide inside the double quotes which is you have typed. This will be popped up in the message box, so I'm going to write you typed. Here we go. So I have provided the you typed, and the message should be shown, right? So I'm going to add on the plus text box value, which is this one. So we have set the self dot text box text, right? So this one will be provided. You typed the text box value. So the next thing what we are going to do is, like, we are going to make sure that queue message box work. So in order to do that, we are going to again use the queue message box and provide dot okay. This will make sure that queue message box is there. So queue again, I'm going to provide, let's provide it 2 times, which is queue message box dot okay. Here we go. We have provided the queue message box. And so after doing this, what we are going to do, we are going to set the self dot text box. Here we go. The text box self dot text box is there. So dot, we are going to set the text, and inside that let's keep it blank. Here we go. I would like to explain what we did over here. So in this on-click method, we have changed certain things, which is we have created the text box value variable. Inside that we have used those like self dot text box dot text, which is the text value that needs to be displayed. So, and after that we need a message box to display the text, right? So we have used the queue message box, which we have imported from Qt5 widgets. So we have imported that, and like we have used the self keyword and provided the message, like and you typed, which is for example, if I'm writing down the text and clicking on the button, so what will happen, caption with you typed along with the message that you are writing in will be showed. We'll discuss this while running the program. So after that, we have like use plus text box value, which is indicating our message that we have typed, and followed by we have provided queue message box dot okay and queue message box dot okay 2 times to make sure that queue message box is popping up. And lastly, we have also used the text box or dot set text to make sure the message is like set. Here we go. We have provided the code. Let's go ahead and run the program. Now we are going to run the program. Here we go. We are going to run the program. Here we go. The output is displayed. So here we go. As you can see, the output is displayed with PyQt5 text box as the like our header part, and let's write the message. My name is James, or let's say hello PyQt, welcome to PyQt program. I'm going to write this. Here we go. So let's click on this button and view our message. Here we go. As you can see, you typed welcome to PyQt program is shown. So I'd like to discuss what happened over here. So this window is created, which is maximizing and like minimizing and maximizing. So the text box which we created is coming from over here, which is the, where is it? Here we go. So the text box is coming from here by taking the value from here, which is the text box value, and plus text box value. So as you can see, and the text box is set, and along with that the message box is coming when I'm writing down the when I'm using the editor welcome to PyQt and clicking on the text button. So as you can see, message box is coming in with u typed shown over here, which we use, and the message as the header for the q message box. As you can see, the message is here, and u typed has been taken along with the text box value, which is the plus text box value. We used it to as text box dot text, and we have set the text. So welcome to PyQt is shown along with the OK button, which is q message box dot OK. So OK button is there. So here we go. I'm just clicking on OK. So it's going on. Here we go. So this is the program, and along with that I would like to discuss one more thing. So the button we created, which is the q push button, is coming from there, which is show text. So this is that, and the header is PyQt5 text box is coming in the window part, which is this one, PyQt5 text box. So this is how we created the program. We created the window, we created the text box, the second step, and we created the button. And inside the PyQt slot, we set the program, which is setting the text box dot text and the value, and also we use the message box to display the message by clicking on the button of show text. So this is a tutorial in which we are going to create the menus by using the PyQt and coding using the PyQt. So as you can see, we have written the code based on the previous code we did it for creating the window. We are going to use the same code for creating the window, and inside the window we are going to create the menu. So let's get ahead and started with the coding part to create the menu. So the first thing what we are going to do is we are going to use the queue action. We're going to import the queue action. Here we go. We have imported the queue action, and one second, so it has taken the wrong one. Here we go. So we have used the queue action, and followed by we are going to use the queue main window. Here we go. We have imported the required things. Now what we are going to do, as we did it for the last tutorials for creating the buttons, text boxes and message boxes, we are going to do the same thing for creating the menu as well. So the first thing what we are going to do is create a variable called main menu, and inside that we are going to use self keyword, followed by we are going to use the menu box. Here we go. So we have used the menu box. Now what we are going to do, we are going to create the separate variables for different menus. Let's say we have file, edit, view, navigate. As you can see, I'm moving the mouse. Similar thing is the menu for an application, right? So we are going to create different variables for different views, file, edit, navigate code, like that. So let's go ahead and start doing that. So the first thing what I'm going to do is the file menu. Here we go for the file, like in the menus, just like this. So the next thing is what I'm going to do. Let's not leave some space to make sure that it should not take any other variable. So I've created the variable called file menu, and I'm going to use the main menu dot. First thing is I'm going to use the add menu option. Here we go. So we have used the add menu option, Inside that I'm going to define the menu, the first menu name, which is, let's say, file, just like this. File. So here we go, we have created the file. The next step is edit, right? I'm going to create a variable called edit menu, and the same thing I'm going to do. I'm going to use the main menu dot add menu, and inside the parentheses I'm going to name the menu as edit. So we have created the file, we have created the edit. Now what we are going to do, we are going to create view menu, which is by providing the variable as main view menu, and inside that I'm going to use again same thing, which is main menu dot add menu, and inside the parentheses I'm going to like call the name as, let's say, view. So here we go. Let's keep this the first letter as in caps. That's an optional one. I'm keeping it as caps. So we have created the view menu. Let's say I'm going to like create one more menu like search menu, which is the search one in the menu, and I'm going to call on main menu dot add menu, and inside that keep the name as search. Similarly, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one more thing which is called tools, and inside that I'm going to use main menu dot add menu, and inside this I'm going to provide the name as tools. Here we go, we did that. And lastly, let's create a help one. So I'm going to give the name as help menu, and inside that I'm going to again use the main menu dot add menu, and inside that I'm going to call the name as help. Oops, I have used the semicolon. I'm going to remove that. Here we go, we have created the different names of like file, edit, view, search, tools, and the help. So similar, as you can see, we have the same in like PyCharm, file, view, edit. A menu will be created once if I'm going to run the program. Now inside that we need to have some like this, right? Exit or power save mode, new project. So let's create something called exit, in which like whenever I'm clicking on the exit, the file will, like, the application will get closed, right? So we have, in order to do that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to first create the variable called, let's say, exit button, and inside that I'm going to use the queue action to perform the action, that is queue action, and let's give it the name for this one as exit. Here we go, and followed by the keyword called self. Now I'm going to add the shortcut as well, which is by the exit button which we have created, and followed by dot operator, and inside the dot operator I'm going to use the set shortcut option, which is already available. Here we go. I'm going to use the set shortcut, and inside that let's provide control plus q as the name shortcut for closing the application, which is control plus q. Here we go. So we did that. The next thing what I'm going to do, I'm going to use again the exit button and use the dot triggered method, followed by I'm going to use the connect. Here we go, and inside that I'm going to use the self dot close option. So here we go, we did that. Lastly, let us use the file menu which we created from here, and we are going to use add action dot add action, and inside the parentheses let's call on the exit button which we have created, which is this one. Here we go. So we have called on the exit button, and lastly the self.show is already available, which is from the last tutorial's code. Here we go. So by using this code we have created the menu, and like for creating the window, so these are the code which we used in the last tutorials. We are going to use the same code, which is like the main menu program, I mean the main method, and the other steps for like defining the self.top, width, height, and like the all the elements. Here we go. What we did, I'd like to explain again. First, we created the variable called main menu, and used the self keyword dot menu box method. And yeah, so after that, what we did, we created different variables which is available in the menu, like as for the different applications. We have, as you can see here, also as an example, which is file, edit, view, tools, help, all the stuffs are available. So I've like for displaying that, what I did in the menu, like what I did, we created the sample, like the as an example, which is file menu, edit menu, view menu, search menu as a variable. And inside that we use the main menu which we have created. Inside that we had the menu box, right? So we use the main menu dot and use the add menu, and inside the parentheses we gave the name as file. And similarly for the different things, what we did for edit, view, search, tools, and help, just by using the main menu dot add menu. And it is main menu is coming from here. Here we go. It's just simple, and just like by writing this one line we have like the menu options of coming in for the file, edit, view, and search. And also I have created one more thing called like the exit option. Let's say like this, by clicking on the file we see the exit option right inside the menu for the file, right? So for I've just called on use the, like for doing that I've just used called on the first thing as exit button variable, and inside that we use the q action. Just for by just clicking on that, an action will be performed to close the application. So I have used the q action. Inside that I have like given the name as exit and provided the self keyword. And also I have set the shortcut, which is a control plus q option, which will be showing in. And lastly, what we use the triggered and connect, and inside the parentheses we called the self.close option. Like whenever I'm clicking on the like the close option will be performing. And the last thing is I have used the file menu because like we are going to display that exit option inside the file like option. So we use the file menu dot action, and inside that we provided the exit button in which the exit like is available, which is the exit button. Here we go. So this is the exit button, and the rest of the other things are like are the same. So this is from the previous tutorials for creating the window. So here we go. Now let's go ahead and run the program and see whether we get an output just like this, which is file, edit, view, like the tools and help, and the search. So inside the file, exit option should come in along with the control plus q as a shortcut. So let's go ahead and run the program. So we are going to run the program and check for the output. So here we go. We have successfully created the menu of the application, which is file, view, edit, search, tools, and help. And inside the file, exit option should be coming in. Here we go. We have found out the exit and control plus q option which we have created. So this is how we create the menu of the application by using the PyQt with just writing the simple steps, like simple lines of code for getting the menu. It's a very powerful tool, powerful PyQt library. So we use that, and by just writing out the single line of code, we create the menu. When compared to like writing down the full code, like it's very easy and for creating the menus. And also you can see the exit option is coming in, and along with the control plus q option. So similarly for other adding on other stuffs, we are going to use the like deploy the different lines of code, I mean like the same lines of code with other options. And also for performing that particular action attribute, like for performing that particular thing, we need to provide the separate code for that particular option we are going to provide, just like we did it for exit thing. So here we go. I would like to explain what are the stuff that are coming in from where. So as you can see, the file is coming from here and the edit is coming from here, which is by using the dot add menu from uh, the edit, view, search, tools, and help. So this is a tutorial in which I'm going to teach you about creating a grid layout using PyQt5. In the last tutorials, we have seen creating a window and creating the text boxes like by buttons and then performing certain actions. So in this tutorial, we are going to create a grid layout in which we'll be having different buttons. So let's go ahead and start writing the code. This is a code which we have used for creating the window. So I'm going to use the same code. Along with that, for creating a grid layout, I'm going to write down the simple lines of code. Now, the first step, what I have did, I have imported certain Q push button, QH box layout, Q group box, Q dialog, and QV box layout and Q grid layout for to be used in the program for creating a grid layout. So let's get started by writing the code. As after importing by importing all the Q push button, Q group box, Q dialog, we are going to start writing the code. The first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the grid layout by using self dot create. Here we go. It's taking in and self dot create grid layout. Here we go. We have used the create grid layout. Now what we are going to do, we are going to create a variable called window layout in which we are going to use our QV box layout which we have imported, which is coming from here. So we have imported the QV box layout. Now I'm going to use the window layout which I have created just right now. By using dot operator, I'm going to use add widget, which is going to I'm going to apply self dot horizontal and I'm going to use group box. Here we go. So we have used the window layout dot add widget and use self dot horizontal group box. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a method after self dot show, which is I'm going to use definition, which is df create grid layout. There we go. And inside the parentheses, I'm going to pass on the self keyword. Now let's go ahead and use self dot horizontal group box which we have imported, and inside this let's call on q group box followed by, let's provide a letter called, here we go, inside the apostrophe we are going to define it as grid. Now let's create one more variable called layout and inside that use q grid layout. Here we go. So by using the layout which we have created dot, we are going to use set column stretch, and inside that let's provide a number called 1, 4. So here we go. We have used those layout dot self set column stretch. Now let's use layout dot set column and stretch again, and here we are going to provide different number, which is 2 comma 4. Here we go, we have defined that. Now let's again use the layout which we have created and use the dot operator and provide add widget. Here we go, add widget, and use the Q push button. Oops, here we go, it's clicking in as we have imported. So, and provide the number inside the apostrophe, which is 1, and provide the row, which is 0 comma 0. Similarly, let's create 9 buttons by using layout dot Q push add widget, which is again, and inside that let's create Q push button and make this one as 2 followed by 0 comma 1. Similarly, we are going to do it for 9 more, like 7 more buttons by providing the same, which is layout dot add widget, and inside that we are going to call on Q push button. Oops, here we go, Q push button, and provide the third one by providing 0 comma 2. Now in the first row, what we are going to do, let's create one more layout dot add widget and use the Q push button and provide 4 and followed by 1 comma 0, which is the first one. Similarly, let's do it for other, which is recording and layout dot add widget, and inside that let's provide Q push button followed by providing the 5 and 1 comma 1. Similarly, let's create again, which is layout dot add widget, and inside that we are going to use Q push button and provide the value of 6 followed by 1 comma 2. So let's go ahead and create the second row, which is by providing layout dot add widget and providing the Q push button and providing the number as 7 followed by 2 comma 0. Here we go. So now let's do it again, which is layout dot add widget and provide the Q push button, and inside that we're going to provide 8 and 2 comma 1. Now let's do it for 2 comma 2, which is by layout dot add widget, and inside that we are going to put Q push button and provide the number as 9 and comma 2 comma 2. Here we go. Lastly, what we are going to do is, like, we are going to use the self keyword dot horizontal group box dot set layout, and inside that we are going to use the layout which we have created. Here we go, it's coming from here. So that's it. So we have created the layout dot add widget, which is the button, and defined on everything. So here we go, we have written down the code. The expected output is the grid layout in which 9 different buttons will be coming in. So let's go ahead and now run the program. Now we are going to run the program. Let's run the program. Here we go. So as you can see, a grid layout has been created
in which we have the different numbers inside the buttons which we have created, which is coming inside the grid layout box. So here we go, 9 different buttons along with numbers, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm gonna explain what is coming from where. So these are the 9 buttons which we have created inside the grid layout, which we have created the grid layout by using the layout variable. Inside that we have this grid layout, and we also provided the two, which is 1 comma 4 and 2 comma 4 as column stretch, followed by we created the buttons. So this is the code for creating the grid layout. So PyQt5 layout is coming as a label, which is PyQt5 layout.
So this is a tutorial in which we are going to create horizontal layout using PyQt5. In the last tutorials, we have created grid layout and other stuff which related to text boxes, buttons and other layouts. So in this tutorial, we are going to create horizontal layout by using PyQt5. So this is a code which is common for all the like grid layouts and other stuff. So we have already used the same code here, and along with that we are going to add on some extra lines of code for creating the horizontal layout. Before starting to write the code, I would like to explain what is this code. So first we imported the sys, which is a system, and then followed by we have imported Q application, Q widget, Q push buttons, QH box layout, group box, QV box layout, dialog, and etc. Other things we are going to use inside the application or the program. Okay, so let's go ahead and start writing the code and use these stuffs which I have imported. The first thing which we are going to do right now is first we will create something called self dot create horizontal layout as the name. Okay, so we did that horizontal layout we have created. Then we'll create a variable called window layout, and inside that we'll use the QV box layout which we have imported. So as you can see, QV box layout is available over here. So we use the QV box layout. Then what we are going to do now, we are going to use the window layout which we have created and use the add widget option, window layout dot add widget, and inside that what we are going to do, we are going to pass on the horizontal group box, which is by using self dot horizontal group box. So it's done. We have passed on the horizontal group box. Lastly, the next step what we are going to do is we are going to use the set layout option and pass on the window layout which we have created. So it's done. Now let's go ahead and define the create horizontal layout. Let's give some gap over here. So definition, the create horizontal layout, and provide the self keyword inside it. So inside this we'll use the self dot horizontal group box, and inside this we use the Q group box which we have already imported, and inside this let's use what is your favorite color. Favorite color. So I'd like to add one more point here. While running the application, 3 buttons will be shown, let's say red, blue, green, and while clicking on, like the question will be asked as what is your favorite color, and we are required to click on a particular button. So as an example, we are going to create buttons and inside the layout for the horizontal layout. Now after doing this, what is required now? We'll create a variable called layout, and inside this we'll use the QV box layout, and after that we'll create a variable called button blue, and inside this we'll use the Q push button which we have which is already available there, and let's provide the value as blue and pass on the self keyword. And by using this button blue, what we are going to do, we are going to use the connect click dot connect. Okay, so and inside that we are going to pass on the self dot on underscore click, which we are going to define it inside the PyQt slot on click. And lastly, we'll use the layout which we have created, and by using the add widget we are going to pass on the button blue which we have created. Here we go, as simple as that. So let's create two more things which are red and green. I'm going to create a button red called variable called button red, and inside that we'll use the same thing which is Q push button, and provide the value as red and the self keyword. So it's done. After doing that, what we are going to do now, we are going to do the same thing what we did, which is what we did for button blue, which is we are going to use the button red dot clicked dot connect, and inside this we are going to pass on the self dot underscore click on underscore click. Okay, and lastly we'll use the layout which we have created and use the add widget, and inside this we are going to pass on the button red. There we go. The next thing what we are going to do now is we are going to create a variable called button green, and inside this we are going to pass on the Q push button, and let's find the variable for value for text called green and the self keyword. And by using this button green, we use the dot click dot connect, and inside this we use the self dot on underscore click, and lastly layout dot add widget and passing on the button green. Here we go, it's done now. So we have created three different colors for like red, green and blue. Now lastly, let's do one more thing, which is self dot horizontal group box dot set layout, and inside this we'll pass on the layout variable which we have created. And along with that we need to define the on underscore click. So for doing that we use the PyQt slot, and inside this we create a method called definition on underscore click. Okay, so and inside that we provide the self keyword and open this method and provide the value called the text called PyQt5 button clicked inside the print statement. So here you go, it's done now. So we have defined everything, and main method is already available. So this is the main method which we already know. So we have defined everything. Let's now go ahead and run the program and check for the output. Now we are going to run the program. Here we go, we are running the program. So that's it. We have got the output with PyQt5 layout, and as you can see, what is your favorite color as one of the caption, and three different buttons are available, which is blue, red and green. So as you can see, PyQt5 button clicked is coming in whenever I'm clicking on a different blue, red, or and green button. So this is an example of horizontal layout, where we have created 3 buttons along with caption as what is your favorite color and the button name as blue, red, and green. Inside the horizontal layout. So hope the session was clear. I'd like to explain how the output is coming in. So we have created the horizontal layout, and as you can see, the blue, red, green are coming inside create horizontal layout, where we have defined blue, red, and green separately by using self dot under on underscore click as an option of whenever I'm clicking on. So PyQt5 button clicked is prompting up inside this output console. So this is how we are going to run the program. So today we are going to create a form layout using PyQt. So let's get started with the coding part. As I've already defined certain parts, so I'd like to explain on what are the above things that I have explained. So first thing, in order to create a form layout, we are required a few certain things, which is queue application, combo box, then we require a dialog, then dialog button box, queue form layout, grid layout, group box, QH box layout, queue label, queue line edit, queue menu, menu bar, push button, spin box, text edit, and QV box layout. So these are the certain things which I have imported from pyqt5.qt widgets. Then we have imported the sys one, and inside the class dialog, I've created a class called class dialog, and inside the parentheses I've used the queue dialog which we have imported. Here we go, queue dialog is there. So queue dialog, as you can see over here, so we have imported that. The first thing what we are going to do inside the class is, first we'll define number grid rows. Grid rows as a variable, and inside that I'm going to say grid rows as 3. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one more variable called number of buttons. Let's say I'm giving it as 4. So we did that. Then inside the in itself, which has already been which I've already created that. So what I'm going to do inside the init, first thing I'm going to what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the self keyword followed by create form group box. Okay, so I have defined this one, and the next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable called button box, and inside that let's use the queue dialog button box which we have imported, which is coming from over here. Then after that, inside the brackets, I'm going to again use queue dialog button box, then dot OK. So we have used this dot OK, and I'm also going to use a bar followed by queue dialog button box dot cancel. So here we go. Let's close the bracket. So we did this, and then the next step what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this button box which I have created, followed by dot operator, and use accepted dot connect, and inside this I'm going to use self keyword followed by dot accepted. So we did that. Then the next thing what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a variable called main layout, and inside that I'm going to use the QV box layout which we have imported from pyqt5.qt widgets. Then I'm going to use this main layout which I have created and use the dot operator, and then followed by add widget, and use the self keyword dot from group box. I'm going to use the from group box.
Oops. So from group box have been created, and then I'm going to use the main layout again, followed by dot operator, and use the add widget, and inside that I'm going to pass on the button box which I have created. So button box has been passed on, then followed by, let's use the self keyword again, and followed by dot set layout, self dot set layout, and inside that let's pass on the main layout which we have created. Lastly, use the self keyword followed by set window title to set the title as form layout. So self dot set window title, and inside that let's provide form layout. Here we go. So we did that. Then let's define the from group box which we have created over here. So we are going to define that one. Let's create a method with the name def, and then create form group box. Okay, and let's provide the self keyword inside, and for the first thing what we are going to do, we are going to use the self keyword dot form group box. Here we go. Let's keep this as the capital one. Okay, so I have used that capital one, so I'm going to use that, and then followed by equals to, I'm going to use the q group box which we have imported from PyQt5.qt widgets, and inside this let's provide form layout as the text. So after doing this, I'm going to create a variable called layout, and inside that let's use the Q form layout which we have imported. Then let's use this layout and use the dot keyword and use add row, followed by inside the brackets I'm going to use the Q label, followed by and provide the name as one of the text, and followed by oops, so and comma Q line. I'm going to use the Q line editor as Q line edit. So here we go, the first one is done. Similarly, we are going to do it for some more, which is by using layout dot add row, followed by, let's use the Q label. Oops. So we use the Q label, and let's provide as first thing as country, comma Q combo box. Let's use the Q combo box as one of the instance. So we are going to close this one. Lastly, again I'm going to use the layout dot add row, and again use the Q label, followed by providing the age. So after doing this, I'm going to use the Q spin box which we have imported and close it. So we have used that's it. We have used the three layout, one for name, one for country, and one for the age. So Q line edit, Q combo box, and Q spin box have been all used as defined. So lastly, I'm going to use the self dot form group box dot set layout and inside this let's use the layout which we have created. Here we go, all the stuffs have been defined, and here comes the main method, and inside the main method we have used the queue application, then dialog has been created, then sys.exec has been defined. So here we go, each and everything has been defined. So let's go ahead and now and run the program for the same and check for the output. So everything has been defined. I'm going to cross check once again if anything is left. So as we have checked now, everything is correct, and then all the steps have been already been defined. So there is no problem in the code. So let's go ahead and now run the program and check for the output. Now we are going to run the program. So here we go. As you can see, output has been displayed with form layout as a caption, and then inside this we have the name, country, and age as defined. So the queue line edit is taking place in name, and then combo box. Inside the combo box we have for the country, and for the age we have the queue spin box, in which we can by using the arrow marks we just define the age. And for the country, we need to define the different countries inside for the combo box. That is separate one. And for the name, we just enter the name as we want. So here we go. And we have the OK and cancel button. This is how we create the form layout for the same. So, and along with that, we have a lot of options that can be done inside the form layout. So hope the session was clear and you have learned about the form layout, and I'm again going back to the code to explain how the stuffs work. So what we did, we first imported the few required things over here, which is queue application, queue combo box, queue dialog button box, and each and everything which we have using the program. And inside the after that we imported the sys, and then inside the class we use the 3 rows and 4 buttons as like three as the grid rows and buttons as variable for 4, and then followed by inside the initialize part we declared button box and use the queue dialog button box and set this as OK and cancel one as one of the like button box. As you can see over here, we have the OK and cancel as one of the queue dialog button box, and followed by we have the accept and reject that is already been defined, and we created a variable called main layout, and inside that we use the qv box layout, and we use the button box as in add widget, and we define the form group box as a self.form group box. And inside so we have already defined the create form group box as a method name. So as you can see, create form group box, so we have defined it over here inside the create form group box, certain things which is inside the queue group box as a label of form layout, and the name, country, and age. In that we have used queue line edit, queue combo box, and queue spin box, and then we have the main method. So after running this like after the method is run, so this is the output we get. Inside the form layout we have name, country, and age, followed by OK and cancel button. So just try to run this code, you will get the output, similar output as this, and you can do the customizations as you want.
So this is a tutorial in which we are going to open a directory view using PyQt5. So let's get started with the coding part. So the things which I have imported for opening a directory view that I'm going to use inside the program for like opening the directory view as an output is queue application, queue file system model, Qt view, and then queue widget and QV box layout. And followed by I have imported queue icon. So this is a common thing which we have used in the earlier programs as well. The title, left, top, width, and height. And inside the init UI, we are going to start with the coding part before the self dot show. The first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the self keyword followed by dot model equals to queue file system model which we have imported. So I'm going to close that. The next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to again use the self keyword followed by
I'm going to use model dot set road path, and inside this I'm going to leave this as blank as of now. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to again use a self keyword followed by tree and equals to Qt review. Okay, so we have used the things which we have imported. Then lastly, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use again self dot tree dot set model, and inside this I'm going to pass on self dot model. Here we go. So we have passed on the self dot model. So let's leave some space, and the next step what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the word self dot tree dot, I'm going to set animated, and inside this let's keep this as false. Okay, the next step what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the self dot tree dot set indentation, and let's keep this as 20. So after that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the self keyword followed by dot tree dot set sorting enabled. I'm going to use the sorting dot enabled, and inside this let's keep this as true. So once it's done, oops, sorry, it's stuck. Okay, so let's leave some more space over here, and then what we are going to do now next is I'm going to use self keyword followed by tree dot set window title as like review. Here we go. So it's done now. So the next thing is self dot tree dot set resize as 640, 480. Here we go. So after doing this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a window layout variable, and inside this I'm going to use the QE box layout which we have imported, then followed by we are going to use this window layout which we have created, and by using the dot variable I'm going to use add widget, and inside this let's use self dot tree. Okay, so after doing this, what else is remaining? We need to set the layout by using self dot set layout, and inside this, after using self dot set layout, inside this what we are going to do now, we are going to pass on the window layout which we have created. Okay, so it's done now. So after doing this, we need to use the self dot show. Okay, so everything is done now. All the things have been defined. So we set the window title, and then we have provided the self.model, then followed by we use the Qt tree, then we set the animated as false and indentation as 20, and set window title as directory view. Then we use the QE box layout and pass on the self.tree, and inside the set layout we pass on the window layout which we have created. Inside that QE box layout has been defined. So all the steps have been defined. Let's now go ahead and run the program and check for the output. So here we go, we are running the program. Okay, so it's loading in. As you can see, a directory has been created with the columns that I have in my system, which is C, E, and F. So a directory has been created, and as you can see, all the stuffs I can see over here. So I can open anything you want. So here we go. So we have successfully created the directory view by using simple lines of code. With using the set root path, Q file system model, Qt tree, and then followed by we use the QE box layout, and then like we use the window layout which we created inside the set layout. There we go. So this is how we create a directory, and hope this session was clear, and this will be useful for you if you are creating a larger application where you want to open the directory view. So this is a tutorial in which we are going to create small buttons inside the box layout. So the difference between here we are using QE box layout. So to make sure that the buttons that we are inserting is inside that particular box, and it will be there in that particular box, so it will not stretch out. So let's go ahead and start with the coding part. So what happened over here is, as you can see, I have imported certain things which I'm going to use, which is the log button box. Then we have the QE box layout, which is the main thing which we are going to use it right now. So let's go ahead to make sure to insert the buttons in vertical. So we are using QE box layout. So we have another box layout as well, which is QH box layout, which is horizontal box layout. So we have imported the stuffs, and then we imported the system which is sys, and we have created the class dialog and inserted the queue dialog which we have imported. So let's start off with the coding part. So what I'm going to do now is, inside this class I'm going to create a variable called number grid rows and keep it as 3. Followed by what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one more variable called number of buttons and insert it as 4. Then inside this init and so next to super dialog, I'm going to create a variable called p1 and use the q push button to insert it inside the box layout. So I'm going to term this as button 1. Then followed by what I'm going to do, I'm going to use b2 as the second variable and use again the q push button and term this as button 2. Okay, so the next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the b3 and term this as button 3. There we go. So we did that. The next thing what I'm going to do is the fourth button, which is b4. I'm going to term this as q push button, and we can term this as button 4. So here we go. So the next thing what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a variable called main layout, and inside this let's use the QE box layout, which is a vertical one. and after that let's use this main layout which we have created now and use the dot operator and use the add widget, followed by inside that let's pass on the first variable which is b1 which we have created. Similarly, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use again main layout which we have created and use the add widget and pass on the b2. Here we go. So we did that, and again I'm going to use main layout and use the add widget, followed by I'm going to pass on the b3 variable. Okay, so let's use it again. Use the main layout dot add widget and pass on the b4, the fourth button. So after doing this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the self keyword, followed by I'm going to use set layout, and inside this I'm going to pass on the main layout which we have created. So after doing this, so let's set the window title as an example. I'm going to provide a form layout. Okay, so this is done. So this is the main method which we commonly use in all of the programs. We have app dialog and sys.exit. So these are the three common lines. So here we go. We have written all the codes. So all the steps have been defined. We have created the 4 buttons. So what is the expected output of running the program? Layout will be created, and which is a vertical box layout. Inside that we'll be having 4 buttons, or like vertically arranged. So this is going to be like a showing of 4 buttons inside the for the QE box layout. Here we go. So similarly, we have something called QH box layout as well. It has its own separate thing when compared to QE box layout. So let's go ahead and now run the program and check for the output. So we are going to run the program now. Let's go ahead and run the program. So here we go. As you can see, 4 buttons have been created inside this form layout, which I have defined as the caption as form layout, and it has been vertically set. So the 4 buttons are set in the vertical form. So button 1, button 2, you have the button 3 and button 4. So this is the use of by using the QE box layout, we set the buttons vertically. So we one more stuff we have called QH box layout that has a separate functionality. So this is how we create the buttons like if you want to set it vertically by using the QB box layout. So this is an example of a box layout. So hope the session was clear. Try to run this code and try to add on some more things to perform certain actions. So by using the above code, you can run the program. So in this tutorial, we are going to see creating a matplotlib by using PyQt5. So in this tutorial, after running the code, a matplotlib will be shown. Example of matplotlib will be shown with the graphical lines will be displaying over it. So before going to run the writing down the code, first of all we need to install the matplotlib's configuration. For doing that, I would suggest you to go to terminal over here and then type this Python /m pip install /u, that is like u and matplotlib. So mpip install u and matplotlib. You just need to use these lines to install the code. As I've already installed, so matplotlib I don't need to install. So this is the one thing first you need to do it. After that you need to start writing down the code. Like once it's installed, matplotlib will be accessible. After that you need to write down the code. So Let's get started and start writing down the code. So this is a code which we use for also creating other stuffs in Python. So I have used the same code, and to make sure to have a better understanding, I will just write down the simple lines of code. So I'll tell you what I did over here. I first imported the sys, then I have used from PyQt5.Qt widgets. I have imported Q application, Q main window, Q menu, and QV box layout. Along with that, I have imported Q size policy, Q message box, Q widget, Q push button. So as per the requirement, we need to be importing such stuff. So I'm going to use some of the steps over inside this program. And after that, for matplotlib, I have used matplotlib.backends.backend hyphen qt5 agg. Then I have used from matplotlib.backends.backend qt5 agg. I have imported figure canvas qtagg as figure canvas, which we are going to use. So this is one of the main thing, and you can like use the code which is provided inside the description to write to run the application. After that, this is a common thing which we use it, that is top left title with height and defining the init UI, so which is available over here. So inside the init UI, before show, that is window title, and after geometry, I'm going to start writing down the code. So the first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable called m, and inside this I'm going to use the plot canvas, and inside the brackets I'm going to use self keyword followed by width keeping as 5 and height keeping it as 4. We are going to define the plot canvas on a separate class, so that's why it's showing error now. After defining the class plot canvas, it will go away. So once it's done, the next thing what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the m.move, which we have created, and m.move, and inside the brackets I'm going to provide 0, 0. So here we go. The next step what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a variable called button, and inside that I'm going to use the Q push button, which we have imported from PyQt5 widgets, and inside the codes I'm going to provide PyQt5 button, which will be displayed along with the matplotlib after running the program. So once after doing this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this button which I have created. Along with that, I'm going to use the dot operator and use the set tooltip, and inside this I'm going to provide, this is an example button. Here we go, I did that. So after this I'm going to create again a variable like I'm going to use the variable button and use the dot move. Along with that I'm going to provide the value as 500, 0. Here we go. So I'm going to also use button dot resize as well, and provide the value as 140, 100. So this is we have used the button dot resize as well, move, resize, and set tooltip. After doing this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create the plot canvas which we have created. We are going to create a class called plot canvas. Here we go. So this is coming before. Okay, so I'm going to create the plot canvas after this. So let's go ahead and create a class, then provide the plot canvas. Here we go. So as you can see, error has gone as I have created the plot canvas, and inside the brackets I'm going to pass on the figure canvas which we have imported from, as you can see, figure canvas which we have imported from matplotlib.backends.backend of PyQt5 as figure canvas. So we are going to use the figure canvas inside the plot canvas, and let's open this class. Let's leave some space as well, and after that I'm going to create initialize, and along with that I'm going to provide the parent as none, followed by width, keeping the width as 5 and height as 4. Along with that I'm going to provide DPI as 100. So after doing this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a variable called figure, which is FIG, and use the figure, and inside the brackets I'm going to provide the first fixed size as width and height. Okay, so let's provide DPI equals to, let's provide the DPI which we have created. So width, height and DPI has been provided inside the figure. Now I'm going to use the self.access and provide the value as fig which we have created. Then I'm going to use the dot operator and use the add underscore subplot. Okay, and provide the value as 111. So we did that. Figure and self access has been provided. Let's leave some more space and use the figure canvas which we have imported and dot, and let's use the initialize option and inside the inside itself, and let's provide the figure which is FIG. After doing that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the self keyword again and use the set parent option, and inside the brackets let's pass on the parent. Okay, so we have provided the parent, and the next step what we are going to do, we are going to again use the figure under figure canvas, and oops, so figure canvas, and along with that I'm going to use the set size and policy, set size policy we are going to use, and provide the self keyword followed by q size policy, and q size policy is not expanding. Let's provide this 2 times, which is q size policy dot expanding again. Here we go, q size 2 times we have provided, and so this we are going to end. Then what we are going to do, I'm going to use again figure canvas and use the dot update geometry option, geometry, and provide the self keyword. Oops. Okay, so we did that, and lastly we are going to use the self keyword followed by provide the dot plot. Oops. So we are going to provide the dot plot. So it's done. So after doing this, let's create the plot which we have defined, which is self dot plot. So let's define, let's create a method called plot. Oops, let's make some space and provide the plot. Here we go. So inside this I'm going to first create the variable called data and use the brackets and use first random dot random and use the for loop and keep I in range of 25. Here we go. So we have defined the range in 25, and I'm going to use the variable called ax, and inside this I'm going to use self keyword dot figure dot add of underscore subplot and provide the value as 111. So it's done. and I'm going to use this AX which I have created, and followed by use the dot plot option, and inside the brackets I'm going to provide the data which I have created, and followed by inside the single quotes I'm going to provide R hyphen. Here we go. So we did that. After doing this, I'm going to use the AX which I have created. Inside the self dot figure add subplot is there, and use the dot operator, and use the set title, and provide inside this I'm going to provide PyQt matplotlib example. Here we go, we did that. Oops, I guess having the hyphen. Why it's not taking in? So self underscore title has been defined. Lastly, let's use again self keyword, and followed by use the dot draw option. So here we go, it's done now. So we have defined everything, and the main method which I have already used and defined, is a common one we use for each and every PyQt5 program, which is application, then ex and sys.exit. So here we go, each and everything has been defined. So let's now go ahead and run the program and check for the output, where we'll be viewing our matplotlib example along with the PyQt5 button which we have defined. So before running the program, once again I would like to tell what I have done. The first thing what we did, we have imported certain things which we are required. Here some of the things which we have imported are not used, so that's an optional one, either you can upload it or not. So we require the Q push button, then Q size policy, then Q main window, and then Q application is required. And from the matplotlib, what we did, we used the we have imported the figure canvas, and followed by we require the figure we have imported from matplotlib figure, and we have also imported matplotlib.pyplot as plt. So these two things which we have required, figure and figure canvas, we have imported from matplotlib. Before using the matplotlib, I would suggest you to install the matplotlib by going to the terminal, and I have provided the code as well for matplotlib. Oops, so it's not defining. Now let's go back to the program. So inside the class, the first in the class we have the class app, and then we created the class plot canvas, and then we have used a method called plot. Inside that we have defined certain things. So inside the plot canvas, the first thing we initialize the method and use the figure which we have imported, then followed by we provided the access in which we use the figure which we have created, then use the add underscore subplot of 111, and use the figure canvas again and initialize and provided the fig inside it. So we use the self.set parent, and also we use the figure canvas.set size policy we have used, that is q size policy which we have imported, and then use the self.plot, and we have defined the method for the plot. So inside the plot we defined the range till 25, and use the figure.add underscore subplot. We have defined the plotting options over here, and then we have also defined the PyQt matplot example. Then we use the self.draw option. So by using this inside this self, there is a class file, and then we have defined everything. Apart from that, there is a common thing which we use, that is top, left, width, and height, and along with the main application. So let's now go ahead and run the program and check for the output, and let's see. I'm going to run. Let's now go ahead and run the program. So we are running the program now. Here we go. So we have got the output, and as you can see, the PyQt matplotlib example along with the PyQt5 button is displayed. So as you can see, we have till 25, in which the range we have defined as till 25. Along with that, we have the graphical line of 0 of 0.8, 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. So this is an example PyQt matplotlib. So you can define as you want and do the operations, and it can move according to you, according to what you are going to define. So this is how we create the example. We create the matplotlib by using PyQt5. I'm going to again go back to the code and explain what happened over here. So what happened, I'd like to explain. So as you can see, we have defined in the range of till 25. So it's checking in till 25, and I have defined the PyQt matplotlib example as the caption, which we have set the title as PyQt5 matplotlib example. Along with that, the other things, that is figure, and we have used the figure, right? So we the figure is coming into picture. Along with that, we have used certain plot as well, triple one, and all the stuffs are coming in. So figure canvas, inside the plot canvas we have defined all the stuff seems are being displayed. So by using this code, you are going to create this simple matplotlib example. We have also PyQt5 button over here. So this is how we are going to create the PyQt matplotlib example. Along with that, you can add text boxes and perform as you want, as per your wish. So this is a tutorial in which we are going to see Webkit. We are going to open the Webkit by using PyQt5. So before doing that, if you don't have the Webkit installed on your PyQt, I would suggest you to go to terminal and then use install PyQt Webkit. So as I have already installed, so I'd suggest you to follow in the description link which I'm going to provide for installing the PyQt5 Webkit. So let's get started with the coding part. The first thing what we are going to do is we are going to import sys, then followed by we are going to import from pyqt5.qt core. We are going to import asterisk, this is star. So after doing this, we are going to import from pyqt5.qt GUI. We are going to import again star. Then we are going to import from pyqt5.qt webkit. We are going to import again star. Here we go. Then next step, what we are going to do, from pyqt5.qt webkit widgets, we are going to import star. So we have imported Qt webkit widgets. Lastly, we are going to import from pyqt5.qt widgets. I'm going to import Q application, oops, I guess we have missed something. Two times I have used the import statement, so Q application. Along with that, I'm going to import Q widget and Q main window. Here we go, we have imported the required steps. The Qt webkit and Qt webkit widgets are more important. So let's now go ahead and start writing the code. The first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable called app. Then inside that I'm going to use the Q application and sys.argv. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a variable called web, and inside that I'm going to use Q web view Okay, so we have used the QA view. There we go. So the next step, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this web dot. I'm going to use the load, and inside that I'm going to use QURL, and let's provide the URL which we are going to open, which is I'm going to use https colon double slash. Let's open the google.com. There we go. So we have used it. And lastly, I'm going to use the web which I have created dot. I'm going to use the show. And last, let's use the sys.exit, and inside that let's use app.execute. So here we go. We have used the required things. So first thing what we did, we have imported the Qt core, Qt GUI, Qt that is Qt WebKit. Then we have used the Qt WebKit widgets. Then lastly we have used the Q application, and followed by first we have created the app, and inside that Q we have used Q application, and inside the web we have used Q web view. And by using the web which we have created, we are going to use the dot load, and inside that we have used the QURL and provided the description link which we are going to open, which is google.com, or as per your wish you can set it. Right now I have set it as https google.com, and we have used web.show and sys.exit. And I would like to suggest you to install the Qt WebKit if you don't have in the PyQt5 by following in the below description link, which I'm going to provide for installing the Qt WebKit, which is install Qt WebKit inside the terminal. So by using this terminal, you need to write down the install. There is a for installing that Qt WebKit, you need to follow the description link which I'm going to provide. So that's it. Let's go ahead and now run the program and check whether the google.com is opening or not. I have used the like we need to use small L, that is web.load. So let's now go ahead and run the program and check for the output. Here we go, we are running the program. As you can see, we have successfully opened the google.com by using the code, which is by using Qt WebKit widgets and Qt WebKit, and also the other code. So here we go, as Google is opened. So I would like to explain what happened. So by this is a Q main window, and as I have provided https colon double slash google.com, so Google has been opened, and as per your wish you need to provide your web details that you are going to open. So this is how we created the we open the web browser by using this code, these 5 simple lines of code. That is, we have used qwebview and then qurl inside the web.load, and by using web.show we have successfully opened the browser, which is WebKit, by using the WebKit. And the things that is mostly required for like running the program is the Qt core, Qt WebKit widgets, and Q widgets. These are some of the stuff which I have used, but which I have imported, but I have not used. As per your wish, you can import. So I have just used it for reference purpose, and for other stuff if I'm going to create. So GUI and Qt WebKit. So by using this 6 things, by importing 6 things, and by using the app and Q application inside it, and Q web view, and inside the load URL, I have just provided Q URL. By using the simple lines of code, you can successfully open the browser, uh, your Google, and use as per your wish. So that's it for today, and in the coming tutorials I'm going to explain you about opening the complete web browser as well, and other creative stuffs by using PyQt5. So that's it for today. Thank you for joining with Programming Knowledge. Make sure to install the Qt WebKits if you don't have. If you have, then no need of installing it. So if you want to use the Qt WebKit widgets, you need to first install
the Qt Webkit widgets inside the PyQt5 by using install Qt Web. One line of code is there that you need to install in the terminal or in the command prompt by using the code. So for doing that, kindly find in the below description link for installing the Qt Webkit widgets. So that's it for today. Thank you for joining with Programming Knowledge. See you in next tutorials. Bye guys.